So when did the celebration we call Christmas today begin? Why isn't it in the Bible? Anywhere. If it was the way we are to celebrate our Savior's birth, why don't we see it after Messiah's ascension? I mean, we have quite a bit of history there, written in Scripture, about the practice of the apostles, and yet we don't find it there at all. It means it's new, folks. Yet it's really not, because it's the ancient pagan holiday, and that's what we're going to show you. Is this what Paul warned us about? When he warned of another gospel from what he or any apostle ever preached? Well, they certainly didn't keep Christmas, did they? It's not there. How did it then get installed in churches, and today we accept it because, well, our pastors tell us it's safe, but have any of them actually conducted research either? Or do they just rely on what seminaries dispense, daring not to question what is called church doctrine, but prove to be the doctrines of men? Let's dive in because there is so much, and we're only going to cover some references here. We could spend hours on this topic, but we won't. Let's track Christmas and find its true beginning. How did we get here, accepting the counterfeit for Messiah's birth? Well, we can find the origin of this also after Messiah in the 2nd century. A century later. Here it is right here. We have the writings of Tertullian, the so-called early church father of what? Well, of the Catholic Church, not the Bible ecclesia. And actually this proves that this is not, because he's telling you already that whatever he's a part of is not the Bible practice. It's right here. Here's what he wrote. By us who are strangers to Sabbaths and new moons and festivals. You mean the Bible practice, even in the New Testament, that Messiah and his disciples kept. That's a problem. So if they were strangers to the Bible, that's what he just said, who are they? Once acceptable to God. Wait. There's the false Catholic theology. The Bible feasts are still acceptable to Elohim today. What were these counterfeit replacements for the biblical feasts, though? That's the question. Well, he names them. He tells you in the 2nd century, 155 AD, here you go, the Saturnalia. Now, that's Christmas by a new name, essentially, especially some of the practices. The date is going to end up being another one of these, but it's the same thing. Because they had to rebrand it all, with the orgies, the murders, all that evil stuff that happened on that evil day. They couldn't just call it Saturnalia still and keep that in the church. They had to call it something else. Oh, let's put Christ's name on it even. Yeah, right. Like that changed it. The feasts of January. Well, they still keep those too, but they call them things like Three Kings Day. Profane that too, why don't you? Yet there are no biblical feasts in December nor January. Sorry, it's just not there. By the way, that includes Hanukkah. That's not in the Bible, ever. That's not a Bible practice. And we disprove that in the Hanukkah hoax. Watch it. The Brumalia. Now, that one is crucial because that's actually December 25th. There you go. And Matronalia. The matron. The mother goddess. No, that's not Mary. And that's not her feast. Never was and never will be. Are now frequented. So this is what they do. This is their practice. This is the practice of this new church. Well, this new church ain't his. Because if it was, they would be practicing what he practiced. The example that he gave us. So you mean the church which could never be called his ecclesia, who trashed the Bible and replaced Bible feasts with counterfeit feasts in their place already, basically in the 2nd century. We have it right here. After Messiah, just 100 years later, they already messed this up royally. Yep, the modern church is not following the Bible on these, and Tertullian knew it way back then. He even shows remorse here. Understand that. So he wasn't necessarily a horrible guy, but he knew that his church was not practicing the Bible. That's basically what he's saying here. And again, he wasn't either. But he continues. Gifts are carried to and fro. Like Christmas, right? Saturnalia is its origin, not the Bible. Brumalia as well, date-wise. Oops, that's a pretty serious omission or admission of guilt right there. In 155 A.D. New Year's Day presents are made with din. Oh, how nice. New Year's now. Another very occult pagan practice, an event, not Bible, and the wrong time of year, as the Bible year begins in mid-March, essentially, to late March, and sports and banquets are celebrated with uproar. Now that sounds exactly like today. I mean, come on. What's your father watching on Christmas? Yeah, same thing. I mean, this is, we see this all the time. Not everybody, of course, but I know in my household, my dad was a sports watcher, so he was watching sports every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, watching the Super Bowl, the World Series, the World Cup, the Olympics, all of it. So we're still celebrating the same way, basically. They might have different names, but it's the same thing. Oh, how much more faithful are the heathen, the ungodly, to their religion, who take special care to adopt no solemnity from the Christians. So that's a very true statement. They do not. But churches do adopt these occult practices. Why? I mean, again, it almost seems like he's lamenting it here. They've been infiltrated by the enemy even way back in 155 A.D. Wow. Watch our 3 videos after the apostles for far more early history that demonstrates what we call the Catholic Church today was never the ecclesia of Messiah, but the very ones who crept in unawares, according to Jude, according to Paul, infiltrating the ecclesia and changing the Bible practices of keeping the 7 biblical feasts, which the early ecclesias still kept centuries after Jesus Yahusha ascended into heaven, and the apostles kept it, and Messiah kept them. They didn't keep Christmas. Sorry, that's not Bible. In fact, watch our feast series where we lay out these biblically appointed feasts, which are shadows of heavenly things, according to Paul, meaning they can't pass away, nor have they. The notion is ridiculous. We have been lied to grossly about these changing the Bible practice to this satanic holiday we call Christmas. These are all in our playlist now, Is Christmas in the Bible? So you can just watch them all consecutively right there, easy to find. Wait, what are these holidays? Well, all pagan, all occult, none biblical, okay? The ones he just listed, and he told you so it's not a surprise. Saturnalia, Brumalia, Matronalia, New Year's. Let's connect this so all can see what this is. Here's an article from the University of Chicago, from academia, not from us. The Saturnalia was the most popular holiday of the Roman year. Now, this is in Roman times, of course. Catalyst describes it as the best of days. Oh, wait a minute. You mean the most wonderful time of the year? Yeah. Yep, that one. And Seneca complains that the whole mob has let itself go in pleasures. Now we're seeing what this day is really about in origin. They had orgies, heavy drinking, hedonism, the opposite of the Bible, and certainly not a celebration of the birth of Messiah, no matter how much they try to whitewash it today. Sure, then, they cleaned it up in image, but they can't hide this. This history is firm. Pliny the Younger writes that he retired to his room while the rest of the household celebrated. Well, good for him. We should all follow that example. for this satanic holiday. See, that's how you celebrate it. You just don't. That's what we should do. We should just sustain. We should just refrain. It was an occasion for visits to friends and the presentation of gifts. Ah, sounding familiar? Of course it is, because this is the origin of Christmas. Particularly wax candles. Oh, well, we still do that. Why? Now you know. Perhaps to signify the returning light after the solstice. Is about the solstice being what? The birth of the sun god, the light. Hello, it's the pagan festival of lights, or otherwise known in Judaism as Hanukkah, which is a pagan celebration as well, and not a Bible one ever. Watch the Hanukkah hoax and Who Defiled the Temple, and we lay that out very clearly. And Sigilliaria. Marshall wrote, Xenia and Aphoreta, however you say that, hospitality rituals, basically. This is what these are for pagans. Basically the manual, kind of like they do for Christmas today in some ways. They have Christmas etiquette and things like that. But yeah, this is Christmas, all right. It's the same. Is it not good to be hospitable? Are we saying, that's, we're not supposed to? Come on. Give me a break here. Not for the occult, it's not. No. This is Zeus worship, as he is protector of strangers. Did you know that? That's what that's all about. Nice. In fact, in law, however, Xenia actually was the name of law in those days. It dealt with fatherless children, which matches the celebration. Orgies. Hello. Both of these are about gift giving, and these became the manuals for this pagan occult practice. These would morph into what would be called the 12 books of epigrams. Yep, origin of the 12 days of Christmas. Indeed, there you go. But it's nice to give gifts, right? Yep, it sure is. If it's not a cult ritual, that is. And you're not participating in Zeus worship, right? Or Apollo worship, or sun worship, or whatever you want to call it. Just insert a god, because they would worship them all during this time. It is a pagan feast. It's nice to sacrifice, but Yahuwah rejects it when you involve Zeus. I mean, come on. It's the same concept there. Don't try that here. It's nice to have family meals. But Yahuwah hates it when you have Zeus and Apollo over for dinner, sitting at the dinner table, okay? Or Ahura Mazda and Mithra, for that matter. Or name the pantheon in other cultures. It's the same concept. He's not there, that's for sure. He wouldn't be. For the Saturnalia, both of which were published in December and intended to accompany the guest gifts, there you go, Christmas, that were given at that time of year. So it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, right? On the first day of Christmas, yeah, exactly. You well know this is the same thing. This isn't even hidden, folks. Aulus Gellius relates that he and his Roman compatriots would gather at the baths in Athens. To do what? I don't want to know, right? I mean, we don't even want to go there. But he says where they were studying and posed difficult questions to one another on the ancient poets. What? Okay. A crown of laurel being dedicated to Saturn if no one could answer them. Okay. So they had what? Trivia night? No, pretty sure something's missing there. Quite a bit of detail, in fact. But the others are very clear what this is. During the holiday, restrictions were relaxed. What do you mean? What does that mean? It means laws. In other words, it was complete chaos. That's what would ensue, and basically evil at that. And the social order inverted. Okay, so they switched social orders. What does that mean? Well, we see it today. It's the same thing. It's just like giving to the homeless at Christmas, trying to bring them up to your level for a day. It's fake now, and it was fake then, and they know it too. Gambling was allowed in public. Slaves were permitted to use dice and did not have to work. Again, they were elevated to basically the status for a day of a rich person. Again, it was fake and very temporary. It's only one day. Instead of the toga, colorful dinner cloths, like Christmas sweaters, perhaps, were permitted in public, as was the pileus. A felt cap normally worn. Wait. You mean like the elves wear? Like Santa wears? Huh. Especially the elves, though, because, see, they are the slaves. How about that? There you go. The origin of elves, the slaves. Nothing new under the sun, folks. By the manumitted slave that symbolized the freedom of the season. Within the family, a lord of, get this, misrule was chosen. Misrule? You mean chaos. Call it what it was. That's what it is. That's what that term means. A role once occupied by a young Nero who derisively commanded his younger stepbrother Britannicus to sing. Okay. Slaves were treated as equals, allowed to wear their master's clothing, just as we really do with the poor today, one day of the year. Come on, let's stop pretending that's the same thing. That doesn't have any meaning whatsoever otherwise. It's this same event. And be waited on at mealtime in remembrance. Well, that's exactly what we do at this time of year as well today. Soup kitchens and things like that in many cases, the volunteers come out of the woodworks that one day of the year. But what about the other 364 days when these people are in need? Of an earlier golden age thought to have been ushered in by the god Saturn. Yeah, well, essentially, Saturn is Satan, folks. Know that. In the Saturnalia, well, that's his day even, hello, very nice, Lucian has the god himself declare that during my week the serious is barred, no business allowed, no law either. Understand that. And what would Satan say? Do what thou wilt, right? That's the whole of the law in the Satanic Bible. Drinking, noise, and and games and dice, appointed of kings, drunkenness, and feasting of slaves, gluttony, basically. Singing naked, disgusting, no thank you. Clapping of frenzied hands, and occasional ducking of corked faces in icy water. Kind of like, bobbing for apples, perhaps, maybe? Such are the functions over which I preside. Statius recounts a December tipsy with much wine. Well, how nice. And that serves Jesus, Yahusha, how? It doesn't. Don't get me wrong, this holiday's not meant to, right? I know they call it Christmas now and try to put his name on it, even though that's not his name. It doesn't work. And laughing, mirth, and wanton wit, remembering the glad festival of our merry Caesar, and the banquet's drunken revel. How nice. That's the origin of Christmas, folks. Here's more. See if this sounds even more familiar. Here we go. So, let's see. They have figs. Bring me some figgy pudding, right? Nuts, still prominent in the practice to this day. Even the Nutcracker Ballet, for that matter. Dates, also very normal to see that in the Christmas celebration. And other dainties were showered on the people, women and children, men and senators alike, and bread and wine served while guests were entertained by women fighting in the arena. Sports, these would be gladiators, pro wrestling, boxing matches, all sports for that matter, pretty much a match to this, all the same today. And this is interesting, cranes were hunted by dwarfs. Now that actually sounds like something would be kind of neat to see, I'm just saying, but not on this time. This is as pagan as you get. Were the three kings dwarfs, perhaps, who chased cranes from the east? No, doesn't work. That's not the narrative, is it? By the beginning of December, writes Kalumela, the farmer should have diminished his autumn planting. Now, with the approach of the winter solstice, December 25th, there you go, in the Julian calendar, ding, 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 ding. Of course, it's gonna get there with a stronger connection in a minute to that exact day. Saturnus, the god of seed and sowing, otherwise known as the god of fertility, and that includes sex, as did Saturnalia include the same, orgies, was honored with a festival. The Saturnalia officially was celebrated on December 17th and lasted 7 days in Cicero's time, December 17th through the 23rd. Oh, but that will change. I know some will say, oh, well, that's not Christmas because it's 2 days earlier. Yeah, right. Hang on. That connection is firm. We'll be there in a minute. Still, everyone seems to have continued to celebrate for a full week, even though some emperors shortened the government holiday time. We skipped a section there of this writing, but go read it all. The link is on the screen. Extended, says Macrobius, by celebrating the Sigillaria on the last day of Saturnalia, so named for the small earthenware figurines. Ha ha! Wait a minute, that were sold then. I'm sorry, could this get any worse? Could it be any more exacting to what we call Christmas? You mean like the nativity figurines used today? Wow. At the end of the 1st century AD, Statius, besotted from Domitian's Saturnalia feast, exalted, who can sing of the spectacle, the unrestrained mirth, really, unrestrained. This was evil, folks, and yes, it was unrestrained. That's Christmas in origin. It was a disgusting feast. The banqueting, the unbought feast, the lavish streams of wine, yeah, the drunkenness, very nice. Now I faint and drunken with thy liquor drag myself at last to sleep. Is that worship? Not of Yahusha, it's not. Who are they worshiping? Well, Satan, Saturn. That's who they're worshiping. And that's whose day this really truly is. For how many years shall this festival abide? Never shall age destroy so holy a day. Yeah, it's because it's holy to get drunk, right? Certainly, this must be satire, right? Just satanic, that's what it is. But perhaps holy to him, because maybe that's his God. How about that? While the hills of Latium remain, and Father Tiber, while thy Rome stands, and the capital thou hast restored to the world, it shall continue. And the Saturnalia did continue to be celebrated as the Brumalia. See, Saturnalia became Brumalia. Oh, what's that? That's the shortest day of the year, the winter solstice on December 25th. Boom! There it is. Essentially, it was moved, and that's where we get the date, December 25th, for Christmas today. Down to the Christian era, when, by the middle of the 4th century AD, its festivities were becoming absorbed into the celebration of Christmas. We didn't write that. Academia did. Saturnalia leads to Brumalia, which leads to Christmas. It's all the same. There you go, the connection, and very firm. In another section here in this writing, it says the first reference to December 25th as the Nativity of Jesus occurs in a section of the chronography of AD 354, known as the calendar of Philocylus, which even by this late date still identified December 17th as Ludi Saturnalia. So still Saturnalia remain the 17th through the 23rd, roughly. The first day being the big celebration, I guess, is what it appears. But no doubt December 25th became Christmas, and it's not called that quite yet still, but it will be. And this is the history that is untold in your church. Your pastor's not telling you this, but this is an occult pagan holiday, and it is not worship of our God, folks. You got the wrong God, you got the wrong birthday, you got the wrong time of year, on the wrong date, and it's the wrong feast. It's just wrong in every sense. In fact, did you know there were areas in the U.S. that actually banned Christmas? How about that? According to the History Channel and many others, and this is well reported, this isn't anything that is anything but a part of the historic record. But we're choosing this because it's easy to read here. The pious Puritans who sailed from England in 1620, the title here, when Massachusetts banned Christmas, right? And this was this is where the Puritans came over, the Thanksgiving feast, all of those things. That's a part of the same area. Plymouth Rock, right? To found the Massachusetts Bay Colony brought with them something that might seem surprising for a group of devout Christians. Contempt for Christmas. Well, that's because Christians, true Christians, didn't keep Christmas. It was not a Christian event. It still isn't, by the way. That term Christian is also debatable. But anyway, in reversal of modern practices, that's not good, by the way. When in modern times we're practicing things that ancient people were not, we better go look where they came from. The Puritans kept their shops and schools open and churches closed on Christmas, a holiday that some disparaged as, and this is funny, Fool's Tide. Imagine that, huh? Well, they called Christmas Fool's Tide very appropriately. We should too, really, folks. It is Fool's Tide. Jeremiah called, those that practice the Christmas tree in the last video, fools. I mean, this is very clear in Scripture. It's really not something that anyone can question or debate. We should too. Nothing changed in terms of this day connecting to the Bible whatsoever. And see, that's what they would have to do. They would have to prove that all of a sudden there's some way to prove this in the Bible. You can't. It could not be further from it. That's the fact. But England or the UK generally did the same. But what's so bad about this family holiday that's so beautiful and wonderful? Well, it is not, and it still is not. It never was. They give you the marketing, sales pitch. It's there, and all of the songs, the most wonderful time of the year, all of these things. No, it's not. It is the worst time. It is the darkest time of the year. Parliament decreed that December 25th should instead be a day of fasting and humiliation. So basically, they're making it a day of atonement. That as well is not actually a biblical practice either. How about just don't do anything on December 25th outside of the ordinary, because it has nothing to do with the Bible. For Englishmen to account for their sins, well, there's a day of atonement for that. The Puritans, and of course we can be forgiven any day, anytime, but still there is a day of atonement for that. That's one of the feasts, even though it's a fast in that particular instance. The Puritans of New England eventually followed the lead of those in Old England, and in 1659 the General Court of the Massachusetts Bay Colony made it a criminal offense to publicly celebrate the holiday, Christmas, and declared that whosoever shall be found observing any such day as Christmas or the like, either by forbearing of labor, feasting, or any other way, was subject to a 5-shilling fine. However much that was, it sounds like a lot. The point is, it doesn't need to be legislated away. We just need to be responsible and restore his word. How about that? And whatever the law does, they do. Who cares? Why did the Puritans loathe Christmas? Well, Stephen Nissenbaum, bear in mind this guy's a Jew, so he doesn't know crap about Christmas, let's just be honest. Except for it is a pagan holiday that maybe actually he knows a little more than most Christians do. But he's the author of The Battle for Christmas, says, it was partly because of theology and partly because of the rowdy celebrations that marked the holiday in the 1600s. Now, this is the thing. See, now we see Christmas as a family holiday because the Queen of England got up and she put on her nice clothing and she had a Christmas tree in the background, and that picture circulated around the whole world, and now Christmas is a family event. But it wasn't. See? And that was the whole thing. It's just a marketing package that we're falling for. That's all it is. They rebranded the most pagan occult day of the year as the birth of Messiah. That's basically what they did. In their strict interpretation of the Bible, no, that means they read the Bible. They just read it, that's all. It's not strict interpretation. Jeremiah is very clear. There's nothing strict about it in terms of the interpretation. The Puritans noted that there was no scriptural basis for commemorating Christmas. Well, I mean, how do you call that strict interpretation? It's called fact. See, it's just not there. There's nothing in the Bible about Christmas except for Jeremiah's rebuke of the Christmas tree ritual. That's a problem the church cannot overcome. And as people are awakening, this is a key issue that sadly undermines the church's credibility because, yes, your pastor is lying to you. He's not trying to. We're not saying that. But he's just as deceived as all of us are. But what he is sharing from the pulpit is a lie. He never researched. He is programmed not to dare do so. Understand that. Many pastors are today, however, and many are following this channel even. The Puritans tried to run a society in which legislation would not violate anything that the Bible said. Well, gee, imagine that. Isn't that what every so-called Christian community is supposed to do? Duh. Of course, they don't get this, and that's no surprise from the History Channel. And nowhere in the Bible is there a mention of celebrating the Nativity. Well, not just the Nativity, the birth of Messiah, yes, but any of this. However, leave it to a Jew to tell you the history of Christianity and screw it up as well, because he did. No, the Bible most certainly does celebrate the birth of Messiah. It does so on Shavuot, Pentecost, a feast day, which is the day of covenant renewal and the day that Isaac was also born, which is what Messiah followed as far as the calendar. Another clueless expert who doesn't actually know how to research. He's no Bible scholar. He doesn't represent it. The Puritans noted that scriptures did not mention a season. Well, yes, it does, actually. It's an exact day in Scripture. We prove it. Check out those videos. When was Jesus born? We'll reference those in a minute. Let alone a single day that marked the birth of Jesus. Again, watch When Was Jesus Born? But hint, it was early June, not December. Even worse for the Puritans were the pagan roots of Christmas. Again, just true. So what's so bad about the Puritans being able to tell the truth and the church not? See, that's a problem for the church, not for the Puritans in this regard. Not the Puritans are perfect. Not until the 4th century AD did the church in Rome ordain the celebration of the Nativity of December 25th. So that's not Bible, is it? Yeah, the Pope didn't write the Bible. No, he didn't. No Pope did. And basically we know that it was already being infused all the way back to 155 AD, whether a decree followed it or not. That's what Tertullian said, and even before that. So let's not pretend that church has any basis in the Bible. They do not, never have, never will. And that was done by co-opting existing pagan celebrations, such as Saturnalia. That's a practice of the Catholic Church. They Christianize things. It's not a Bible practice because Yahuwah always rejects such infusion. An ancient Roman holiday of lights, again, like the Jewish Hanukkah, in fact, which also is a hoax, marked with drinking and feasting. Oh, that's just wonderful. That coincided with the winter solstice, December 25th. The noted Puritan minister, Increase Mather, now that's a name for you, wrote that Christmas occurred on December 25th, not because Christ was born in that month, he's right, but because the heathens' Saturnalia was at that time kept in Rome. He's right, which is the truth, even according to Tertullian in the 2nd century. I mean, that's just historic fact, folks. And they were willing to have those pagan holidays metamorphosed, that's the word, I guess, into Christian ones. Well, that's not a Bible practice. Who does that? Well, Samaritan pagans actually infuse worship from multiple religions. That's in 2 Kings 17 and rebuked by Scripture. The Bible always rejects such. According to Nissenbaum, again, he's a Jew. He doesn't actually know, but he studied little. Puritans believed Christmas was basically just a pagan custom that the Catholics took over without any biblical basis for it. Well, that's called fact. It's just true. That's what they did. The holiday had everything to do with the time of year, the solstice and Saturnalia, and nothing to do with Christianity, nor the Bible, mind you, and nothing to do with Jesus Yahusha in any sense whatsoever. Not even remotely. Yes, they say it was birth, and they say, oh, no, the gift giving, that's actually because the three kings. No, it's not, because the three kings brought an offering. And that's a way different story. And they brought the offering to the son of Yahuwah. That's not you, and that's not your children. And you don't practice that. You don't practice it that way. That is ridiculous. They try to stretch everything they can, and these are the dumbest references we've ever seen when they do so. In fact, sitting in the British Museum on display are multiple panels demonstrating a tree in worship being, it appears, decorated. It's included in worship as early as 800 BC on the walls of the palace of Assyria. Now, this is before the lost tribes were taken into Assyria, and Jeremiah wrote after that event, which is no surprise. He rebukes Assyrian practices. However, his rebuke resonates to this day, and we still find this Assyrian infusion. But here it is, written on the wall. There you go. This is just one, but they actually have a room with at least 4 such large panels showing the same tree and the same thing. This was an important practice to the Assyrians. Note the angel topping the tree. That is Ahura Mazda of Zoroastrianism or Mithraism. This is worship Jeremiah also rebukes of Tammuz, the son of the harlot of Babylon. Tammuz or Mithra, in the more modern version, both the sun god. Wait a minute, should we be singing O Mithratry instead? Perhaps we should, because that is the origin of that. How exactly is the modern church continuing this as the worship of Jesus Yahusha, who was not born in the flesh for 800 more years? How about that? Well, this is a problem for the church. It is not representing this honestly. It's not. They're lying to us. That's reality. This is not just conspiracy theory. This is conspiracy fact. They're not doing it accurately, that's for sure. And the church better wake up, because if they don't on this, every church continuing to keep Christmas will be defining themselves as a cult, essentially, in this age. This is no small thing. They will render themselves impertinent to the remnant ecclesia. Let's cut right to the chase here. This is the paradigm of the harlot of Babylon. The Catholic Church's Mama Mary, who is not the Mary of the Bible, but this Queen of Heaven, Jeremiah also rebukes. The kings of the earth drink the wine of her fornication. Saturnalia in origin, which is now called Christmas, is a fertility ritual, thus orgies, excessive drinking, and evil. It's all a fit. This is the birthday of this harlot's son, the god of wealth, not the birth of Messiah. This is why John told us just a century before, this is documented in fact. Come out of her, my people. Be not partakers of her sins, that ye receive not of her plagues. Yes, this is talking about Christmas as well, which is the heart of the retail empire of the harlot of Babylon. Right there. As the church has infused her into its worship, very sadly. She is getting rich off of Christmas. First and foremost in the retail sector. It's the biggest time of year for most retailers. And let us not fund the harlot of Babylon anymore. How about that? I mean, she's made many rich indeed, that's for sure. Stocks go up, the economy's driven by this one event, especially every year, more than any other. There is no perfect description, more so, of mixing Jesus Yahusha with Mammon than the God of wealth in all of history right here. This is the worst. No, by participating in Christmas, we are essentially funding the rise of the beast ultimately. Watch our video on Babylon the Great for more on that. Who is this that is being revered during this holiday, and really Easter or Istar, the goddess of Babylon, all the same? Well, it's the mother goddess, Irene in Greece, with her son, pictured here, this statue found in archaeology. The Greek god of wealth, Plautos, is her son. This is the same little guy. See him, the curly hair there, the bags under his eyes. He's the same little guy that Magellan brought to the Philippines and renamed Santo Niño. Pictured, right? Yeah, he said, the child Jesus. And then this is Mary, the Queen of Heaven. Well, what a liar he was. Look at the picture, and you can see for yourself, these are the same child and mother. Only this found in archaeology 400 years before. Yes, that's the actual idol brought by Magellan to the right there, preserved in Cebu, even behind bulletproof glass, in fact. That's fact. Archaeology. Right there. Watch Satan's trick for more on this. This is Mammon, the god of wealth, not Jesus, Yahusha. For this child is Plautos, used in worship and found in archaeology 400 years before Jesus, Yahusha, was even born. And that's his Mama Irene, not Mama Mary. Mary was never the Queen of Heaven, and heaven has no queen. Just read Revelation. John never says there is a queen there. Yet he describes the throne room, the 24 elders, and everything else there in detail, but no Mary. Mary, however, was righteous, and she was not and cannot be associated with this harlot of Babylon. They try to associate her with giving her that same title, which is a lie. That's not a scriptural title for her, and not even a Bible concept, except for when Jeremiah rebukes her, the Queen of Heaven, 3 times, and that's in 600 BC, 600 years before Mary was born. Hello. He was not rebuking Mary because Mary is no queen, and heaven does not have one. That's not her, and that's not her image either. That is an occult goddess, not Mary, and she nor Jesus, Yahusha, were white. They were dark-skinned in Scripture. That's his image, not Messiah's, who was never a white Greek dude. Nor was Mary a white Greek chick. Yet we have their images also included in our wonderful Christmas celebration, of course. This is the ancient abomination, rebranded. It has never had any merit whatsoever, and the modern church makes itself an abomination, ignoring all the facts, burying its head in the sand, when it has not a single scripture whatsoever that propagates Christmas ever. See how this all flows together? Here's another thing we want to address while we're here. Despite the feeble attempts to give gifts to the poor children on this day, which is impertinent really, and doesn't last, it sends the wrong message, just like Saturnalia did. We are reminding them on this day just how poor they are, trying to make ourselves feel good. When you take all the gifts that you would give to your children and give them to the poor only, then you would be making a statement, perhaps. But we don't do that. Do we? I mean, no one really does. However, giving out of our excess to make ourselves feel good, really? Well, that's just useless. Giving to toy drives, meaningless. And it has no impact. Food drives make more sense, but what about the other 364 days of the year that these people are in need? What about the root cause of their poverty? No one ever wants to deal with that, as we live in a system of slavery where super elites rule. In fact, if the money given to churches went directly to deal with poverty, well, poverty would be practically eradicated. None of these things deals with the root of their poverty, and it is Pharisee in nature to give to be seen or to feel good in many cases. The church must choose, and unfortunately, many have chosen the wrong master, Mammon. This is something else we forget on this occult day of gift giving, never a Bible practice, not in this sense. Some will say, but the 3 kings or wise men brought gifts to Messiah on this day at his birth, right? Wrong. They came 2 years later in Matthew. That's what it says. Read it. And David told us in Psalm 72, they came from the isles of Tarshish, the isles Ophir, and Sheba, all names of the ancient Philippines. We prove. Watch, we 3 kings of Philippines are. Where we prove that. And by the way, David said they would be kings. So yes, they most certainly were kings and wise men, which is not a conflict at all. They say the same thing. They were not giving arbitrary gifts or presents of sort either, but this was an offering, not what we call Christmas gift giving in any sense whatsoever. They weren't giving gifts to family, nor to poor children to make themselves feel better, or even their own children. They brought gold, frankincense, and myrrh. These have precedence. They laid them at the feet in worship of the Son of Elohim as an offering, not a gift in the sense we try to apply today. Just as the Queen of Sheba from that very same land brought the same offering to the temple project. She wasn't giving to Solomon, nor the children, nor the poor, but to the temple, to Yahuwah. And this all started with Adam thousands of years ago, thousands of years before, which was the first sacrifice of atonement. With what? Well, the same elements, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. This is not buying a gift from Walmart to spoil our children, and certainly not about buying 12 items each child, or more in some cases. In fact, there are middle class and poor families who will actually go into debt in order to make this day magical. And yet it's all fake. Why? That doesn't serve Yahuwah at all. It's a lie, and we should reject it. We are not teaching our kids good things by participating in this day, even in that sense. They don't even need most of those gifts. And just when was Jesus born? Well, we prove over 3 videos, the year, then the month, and the day, and we place them in this playlist so it's easy to find. He was born on Shavuot, or Pentecost in Greek, on a biblical feast day, fully entrenching that feast forever into our worship, yet we've forgotten it, and we keep it the wrong time of year, the wrong day, and the wrong practice, and the wrong God at Christmas. It is the day of covenant renewal each year and since creation, and when you realize that, there's really no other day in which he would have been born. Oh, and it was the same day Isaac, the promised son of covenant, was born, and that is what Messiah mirrors. Watch our Shavuot video. We cover all of that. Mary was pregnant in the 6th month and birthed in the 3rd Hebrew month. And we prove that out, not just from the scripture that says that Gabriel came in the 6th month, yet he did, and that's when she was pregnant. Hello. Can we read, scholars? No, you can't. Many times we prove it. So he was born what? That's June on our calendar, not December. Did he pass away? Then how exactly could Shavuot pass away? Why would we not continue to renew covenant every year? Of course we should. Then how could his birthday pass away? It didn't. Yet they tell us, don't dare keep that feast. No, not the Bible one. It passed away. But here, take this Christmas present, why don't you? And keep Christmas instead, the occult pagan holiday, because that's much better, right? In what world? It's the most wonderful time of the year, actually the most evil time for the occult. The day in which the sun god was born and reborn, in some accounts every year, the enemy of Jesus Yahusha and the very embodiment of evil. See, we were all married to the world and the occult before becoming a believer and entering relationship with Jesus Yahusha, in which we are now described as his bride of sort. Let's see. So, you are remarried. Let's say it's your second marriage to a new spouse. And you just can't seem to remember, or you haven't researched and don't really know, the birth of your new spouse that you just married. So, well, how about this? I mean, this will be okay, right? Why not just take the birthday that you know of your ex and celebrate your new spouse's birthday on your ex's birthday? Well, that would be okay, of course, right? I mean, your new spouse would never have a problem with you celebrating your ex's birthday as his, right? Yeah, you know the answer. So don't give us the "he knows my heart" lie, as yes, he certainly does. And if your heart is to worship his enemy's birthday as his, and even include the practice of mammon, well, what do you think he says about that? How do you think that makes him feel? In fact, that would bring into question whether one was ever truly in a relationship at all, as no one can be that inept. The church has come up with all kinds of such canned, programmed responses, and that's all they are. Treating us like robots, programming us. Enough. We can all mature, and we can all see past this. There you go. The track is well preserved. Christmas is the ancient occult practice, even found pictured in 800 BC on an Assyrian relief. Even if you want to argue with that, go ahead. You can't argue with Jeremiah, and you can't argue with the words of Yahuwah himself. Certainly, last video we covered that, and he's rebuked by Jeremiah in 600 BC, at least Christmas is. Now, that's a long time ago, folks. However, even in the time of Messiah, it was known by a new name as Saturnalia, which was 7 days, December 17 through 23. Then that became Brumalia in date, which was the winter solstice, December 25th. That's what that is. This became Christmas, according to academia even. Sure, they likely wish to use this to criticize the church, but see, here's the problem. A church keeping an occult holiday over the actually biblically appointed feast deserves to be ridiculed and deserves to be rebuked. We know many will watch this and learn these things for the first time. Now, do this. You go out and you prove all things for yourself, as Paul admonished in 1 Thessalonians 5:21. You too, Pastor, because we know you nor we learn this in our seminaries. We know that, okay? But it's time to know this, and it's time to teach your people the truth of the Word and restore His ways in your life and theirs. You owe it to your flock, and it would be negligent to not take this and test it. We dare you. We know some will just take offense, as James 3:2 warn, the truth of the word offends, essentially, indeed. And if that's you, you're welcome, but we love you. We love you enough to tell you the truth, which includes rebuke, my friend. Are we saying your pastor is a bad man? Not at all. That's not what this is about. This isn't about condemnation. We are all in the age when knowledge is increasing, and some of that is ancient knowledge, a good portion of it is ancient knowledge restored, because there's been someone messing up the word out there, and it's time to see through this. Let's cut them some slack, though. Don't go beat up your pastor over this. They're learning too. Help them. They were deceived just as we all are. And this is even a harder step for them because they will be ridiculed. Some may even lose their positions for taking a stand on this. But you know what, Pastor? You still stand. However, you stand on the Word. And if your organization rejects that, you know what to do. Shake off the dust of your feet and move on. This is too important. He is too important. History well documents Christmas is the pagan occult holiday, and Matthew 5:17 through 20 is Jesus, Yahushua's, telling us all his ways don't pass away. They cannot. He did not come to abolish the law and the prophets. I know seminary taught you the word fulfill in that passage there somehow means passed away. But watch our feast series, because see, Webster's dictionary says those seminaries don't even know how to speak English. And that's pretty bad. They changed the word, even the definition of that word, and they're caught. What do we do with that? Well, we test it. If true, and you will find this is, repent and set the record straight. Let's restore his ways, not man's traditions, which are meaningless. We have almost 450 videos on this channel, one for every day of the year, many just as profound, with some 50 or so in Tagalog for Filipinos, and now 6 in Spanish to start. We also have been setting up subtitles for 20 plus languages for most of our videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click the bell for notifications of new uploads. Join our email list as YouTube fails to notify often, and we will notify you ourselves at thegodculture.com. Just fill in the pop-up there. We now have alternative platforms for videos on Rumble, Odyssey, and Utreon. And our new podcast is also available for all of our videos as well. All links in the description box. Friend us on Facebook at The God Culture, _space, original. If you prefer an alternative, we now have Parler and Gab. Links below. We have 6 books published internationally, being read in over 100 countries, with a new release now available. The first book of Enoch, the oldest book in history, and we prove it right there in the introduction. Read it. We also have now launched Ophir Philippines Coffee Table Book in the US, Canada, UK, and many overseas markets on Amazon. And it's available in hardcover or softcover there. Additionally, we launched the Book of Jubilees, the Torah calendar, with color maps and interior, as so many had requested overseas. We already had that with color maps in the Philippines, but that too is available in hardcover or softcover, both in color or also in black and white, if you wish. All books, including Solomon's Treasure, are now free in eBook. Yes, Folks, our content is free. And don't forget, the book of Enoch, First Enoch, is also available in hardcover color, softcover color, and black and white color on Amazon. But in the Philippines, it's just black and white. That's all we can offer at this time. Just go to ophirinstitute.com for all the links for your area for all of our books. More coming soon. Thank you for watching. Now, always remember, prove all things for yourself. Yah bless to everyone.